So pleased to have a conversation with Beryl L. Kane Hughes. Her book is called Gone to Rock and Ruin, Alabate's Flint Quarries. That's a national monument. And wait till you hear the story about it. Beryl, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So first of all, let's talk about what made you decide you were going to write this book. Why'd you want to write the book?
Well, I was married to an archaeologist for a long time, and we visited there, and he had died, and my kids were grown and gone from home, and I had retired from my career. What else was I going to do? So I decided to write this book. I went uptown to get a book about Alabates because I was interested in it, and I thought, well, I'll get there'll be a coffee table book, with lots of pictures and everything. It'd be wonderful. No, there isn't any. And so I thought, well, the person who finds the blank is the one to fill it. So that's what I started. This isn't really, this is not a formal archaeological report, so don't be scared about that. It's written for the general public in plain English and a very minimum of scientific terminology. And there's 50 photographs.
What's so special about the quarry?
Well, this was probably the most advanced civilization west of the Mississippi in North America. So it's just as important to North America as the Aztecs and the Incas and things are to South America, except that these people didn't engage in warfare as far as we can tell. There's no evidence of human sacrifice or anything like that. They were busy digging flint. And here I have, can you see this?
Yeah, just an amazing rock.
Yeah.
Oh, for everybody listening, if you saw this, it's an amazing piece of rock. Yeah.
Well, as far as I know, it's unique in the world. It's certainly unique in North America.
Yeah.
It's, maybe 460,000 years ago, the Yellowstone super crater blew, and the dust came all the way to Texas. So it was quite an explosion, and filtered down through the Permian red beds and created this flint. It's technically Alabate's dolomite, but
wow, and it's so fascinating that I think. You talk about, I love the title, Gone to Rock and Ruin. How'd you come up with that? I like that, rock and ruin.
Well, these are the rocks, and the there's ruins left.
Right. And so what are the ruins like?
Well, right now there's mostly the foundation stones of their town or their homes that they built. And at first, someone asked, we have to bring Floyd Studer into this. He, as a boy, wandered all over the Canadian breaks, and somebody offered to show him the remains of an ancient graveyard. And so he walked over there, and these so-called ancient tombs, he recognized immediately as being the remains of a town. And so that's how it came to be recognized, but it took him 40 years to get Congress to call it a national monument.
Wow. And how big was that when it was called a national monument? That's huge.
It's about 1,100 acres.
Oh, and if a visitor comes, they'll see the ruins, right? They'll see the ruins and they'll be able to see what it's like.
On Saturdays in October, you can go to see the ruins. They don't take you during the summer because they don't want you to have a stroke or something from the heat.
Yeah.
So They're very careful. And you have to make an appointment you have to call and set the schedule. And the rest of the time, you can just go up there and they'll take you up to the main hill where the flint was being dug and where you can stand on the hill and look around. But there are, I wrote this down so I wouldn't give you any false information.
Boy, being able to see the flint, that must be some sight for sure. And I'm sure that people that go and see it are just blown away by its beauty.
Oh, they are. They are. I'm telling you. Um, they've identified 734 quarry pits.
Wow.
Each one is approximately 25 feet wide and 8 feet deep. So realize that they dug these things without a pick or a shovel or a stick of dynamite. All they had was a bison, what we call a buffalo incorrectly, a bison scapula tied to a branch of a tree or maybe an antler. But they just scooped. And so.
Boy, 734 quarry pits. And it shows you that these people knew how to survive, right?
Oh, yes. There are bones remaining, actually from the very close to abandonment. The bones probably don't go back 13,000 years. But anyway, there are lots of wildlife in that part of the world. There still is. But they were mainly bison and antelope and deer, but also a lot of smaller animals, rabbits and turtles and things like that, especially the little things that the kids could catch. And there were probably fish, but fish don't last thousands of years very well. So no, they're not ever listed in the lists of bones that are found. And of course, we have to remember when our more immediate ancestors crossed the plains in a covered wagon, they were on the verge of starvation all the time. But there were thousands of Indians out there. They were eating something. So there are a lot of things out there. Nearly everything growing there is good either for food or for medicine. The willow, for example, you boil to get aspirin. And
wow.
So it's really fascinating. And the cattail is edible. Almost everything is edible. And human beings, we have, of course, there are herbivores which eat plants and carnivores which eat meat. And human beings are omnivores. We eat anything we can catch, including grasshoppers and snakes
and all that good stuff. So when people read the book Gone to Rock and Ruin, Alabate's Flint Quarries National Monument, and we're speaking with Beryl L. Kane Hughes. What a fascinating story this is. What do you hope people take away? They want to come and visit?
Yes, I'd like them to come and visit, and I'd like them just to recognize these people. Genealogists get really wound up in their, I can know my great-great-grandfather, But these people are also our progenitors, but we'll never find their names on census records or on any tombstones or anything like that. They've been gone too long, but they are our progenitors. They are the true American pioneers. They came from somewhere in the subarctic. It's hard to tell where. And they came down, and for years and years, we thought that civilization began with agriculture. There was a book written in 1936 called Man Makes Himself that based civilization on agriculture. Now we know that agriculture is not the first, it's the last. The first thing that is that men gathered the flint stores. Before the advent of steel, the only way you could chop down a tree or kill an enemy in battle or something like that was with a sharpened stone. There wasn't any steel or anything like that. And so naturally they gathered where they found good flint. And this is amazingly good flint. So they gather there, and then their families gather around them, and they build houses of whatever kind appeals to them. And eventually, and they soon locate a ritual spot, or they build one. And we haven't found anything to indicate where the ritual place was at Alabates, but naturally it was. And Dr. Klaus Schmidt in 1996, who discovered Göbekli Tepe, maintained that that the urge to worship is the basis of civilization. And after they've built their homes and everything like that, and after they've used up all the wild food, droughts come, and the grass and the trees and everything dry up some, and the grapes and things that are growing that you can pick are just not there. And so the animals disappear if there's no food for them. And so the human beings are sitting there on their perch with nothing to eat. And so that's when they begin to plant. So agriculture is the last thing before the abandonment.
Wow, we have learned so much from you. What a wonderful conversation. And again, this is a place you want to put on your list if you think about the Alabates Flint Quarries National Monument, and get this book, Gone to Rock and Ruin, Beryl L. Kane Hughes. You can get it on Amazon or Barnes and Noble. Thank you so much for coming on. What a great story.
Well, thank you for having me once again.
And thanks to everybody for listening to this interview and this show. Make it count, everybody.